Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we are talking about the first 3 episodes of Hawkeye. So, this video is going to contain mild spoilers, so if you haven't seen episodes 1, 2, or 3 of Hawkeye yet, I would recommend clicking away and coming back after you've seen all 3 episodes. I'll give you a few more seconds to click away. Now let's start talking about some spoilers. So, I think the show is really good so far, and even like in episode 1, it starts off with Kate's family in 2012, which we'll later find out that it's during the Battle of New York in 2012, aka the first Avengers movie, where we see that she's very close to her dad, but not as close to her mom, and then all of a sudden, also they're arguing, which might hint at something later, and then all of a sudden, boom, their house, an alien crashes into their house. Kate's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? She looks through the hole in her building, and she sees Hawkeye. And this is when her and her mom leave, but they find out that her dad did not make it. And she says that she feels like she has to protect her and her mother now that her father is gone. So, she says she wants to learn archery. So then we get like this intro slash montage in this cool illustration, which the illustrations of this intro, and they use the same illustration in the credits for all 3 episodes. But the cool thing about it is that it's very similar, if not the exact same, illustrations as used in the Mac Fraction comic books, Hawkeye comic books. Which is 1, a great series, which you should totally check out if you haven't, and 2, it's also what this series is mostly based off of. But yeah, it's really, that was cool, and it actually is way different than why she learns archery in the comics, but yeah, that's cool. And then we later see that because her mom meets this new guy, Jack, who they're now engaged, even though Kay is not happy about it at all. She does not like Jack at all, which he may or may not be the swordsman, because well, his name is very similar to the swordsman's real name in the comic books. I think it's pronounced Jack or something like that. I don't know. I have to double check. But yeah, it's cool. And Kate meets Lucky. Well, he's not named Lucky yet, but he will be. Well, maybe. They could change his name, but in the comic books, he is Lucky, the pizza dog, and that was cool to see him. And like later on throughout the episode, she goes downstairs and she overhears what's the guy's name? So there's this an older guy who is Jack's uncle, and she overhears him threatening her mother, and then she follows him to like the basement of wherever this party is going on at. And then in that basement, she finds out that there is a illegal auction going on. And some of the things up for auction include Ronan's suit and Ronan's sword. And both Jack and his uncle are both there to try to buy both those items, which is kind of interesting. Gonna see hopefully where that ends up. But then the thing gets crashed. Dude, I'm trying to talk here.
Stole my cactus.
Sounds like a personal problem. Anyway, the party is crashed, or well, the auction is crashed by these bad guys in tracksuits, and these are the tracksuit mafia, who are based off the tracksuit Draculas in the comic books. And just like in the comic books, they constantly say bro after everything, because you know that's not annoying at all. So Kate goes on, she beats a couple of them up in this really cool action scene where she puts on the Ronin costume first, that way no one knows that she's Kate. We get this cool action scene. The one of the tracksuit mafias, they said that they want I think it was a key or something like that, which we have no idea why yet. But that was their priority over everything. They eventually do get their hands on it and leave. But now, almost the whole world thinks that Ronan is back because Kate is seen as Ronan outside. So, not Clint Barton, who is taking his kids out to New York City. First, they go see a play called Rogers the Musical, which was actually kind of cool. I would like to see this musical in real life, either as an actual Broadway show or as a Disney Plus movie. Come on, Disney. You know you like getting money. We know you'll make this if it means more money. So yeah, I thought it was awesome. Like the way they did like the song and dance number was actually really clever. Even though they got the battle in New York wrong because Ant-Man was not in that battle, but you know, whatever. He can't do everything correctly. I mean, 100% sure that was on purpose, but still. Anyway, yeah, that was cool. We find out that Clint now has hearing aids, and we later learn that it's because of all the battles he's been through with the battle in New York in 2012, in Avengers, his fight against Ultron, and his fight against Thanos' forces in Endgame. All that, plus the Civil War, all that messed up his hearing badly, and now he needs hearing aids. And he learns that Ronan is out, or someone dressed as Ronan is out and about. So, because he was Ronan during the blip, like we saw in Endgame, he goes to try to put a stop to it because he knows Ronan has made a lot of dangerous enemies. So he apologizes to his kid, saying that he has to leave, and he goes off. He finds this Ronan imposter, unmasks her, and finds out that it's Kate Bishop, which leads into episode 2, which picks up right where episode 1 ended. And in this episode, we see that Kate and Clint go back to Kate's apartment, where we also see Lucky the pizza dog again because she took him in. And they're talking about something. Kate asks Clint to sign her bow, but he doesn't. But then they are attacked by the tracksuit mafia. We get another cool action scene. They light her apartment on fire. They grab the dog and they leave without the suit. So later on, Clint tries to go back to it, but it's not there anymore. And he learns that one of the firefighters is someone who does LARPing. So he's like, oh, this guy probably took it. And then he sees a TikTok or a YouTube video. I'm not really sure what it was. Like the short, either a YouTube short or a TikTok, or maybe an Instagram, I don't know, of this guy saying that he finally got a new suit, and he calls it a ninja suit, but it's actually the Ronin suit. So Clint goes to this place. He goes to the park. I believe it's Central Park, and he helps to get his costume back. He eventually goes, but he says he'll only do it if he gets to have a LARP fight with him. So that's what he does. He lets him fight, and he lets him kill Clint and win, and he got the suit back in the end. And the firefighter's name is Gills, which might mean something important because of the comics, but we'll see where that leads. Anyway, moving on. Meanwhile, with Kate gets investigating on Jack because she doesn't trust him at all. Because earlier in, was it this episode or was it the last episode? I forget. But earlier she was doing investigating while still in the Ronin suit. And because at the auction, Jack picked up the sword in all the chaos. So he now has it, so when she finds his uncle dead from a sword wound, this gets her very suspicious and thinks that Jack is the one who killed him. She also sees some butterscotches there and under a certain brand name, and then he offers her a butterscotch of the same name. And she also tries to convince her mother that there's something wrong with Jack, but she doesn't believe him. She even challenges Jack to a fencing match where she keeps beating him. She keeps assuming that he's letting her win, even though he keeps saying not. And then out of nowhere, she tries to stab him in the face because, you know, that's what friends do. And he does a perfect parry with great reflexes. And this is where she thinks that it is definitely this guy. but her mom still doesn't believe her. And he could be a villain, or this could be a red herring, because there are a ton of things that it could go with this plot point. Like, for example, I've heard theories about maybe he's not the bad guy, her mother is, which would be interesting, but we'll see if that happens. I am curious to see what will go on. And that's pretty much it for that episode, at least the main stuff that I can remember. So oh, that's not all, actually, because later on Clint lets himself get captured. That way he can talk to the tracksuit mafia. He wants to talk to the boss and talk about how he tried to convince him that Kate Bishop is not Ronan, even though Ronan went to her house and went to Kate's house and Kate came out and Ronan never did. But Kate doesn't know this, so she crashes in, literally, and trying to save Clint, and then she realizes that she brought a bow to a gunfight, and they capture her too. And this is when we meet the Tracksuit Dracula's boss, Echo, who in the comic books is deaf, and she has similar abilities to Taskmaster, in where if she sees you do it, she can copy you perfectly. So, you know, maybe she'll be a better version of Taskmaster, because Taskmaster in the MCU, not very good. But now we move on to episode 3, the most recent episode. And the episode starts off with Echo as a child, where she learns to try to get a hold of where she tries to learn to deal with being deaf. And we see how she's very close with her father, which is very sweet. But we also see something that could be interesting, because she takes a karate class. And in this karate class, her father tells her that her uncle will pick her up, and all of a sudden we see this guy walk in. Well, we don't actually see him. We see his part of him. We mostly see his hand, and then he reaches out and pinches Echo on the cheek. And because this is her uncle, and we will later on learn that it is also her boss. Which, who is this guy? I have heard the theory that it could be Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, which would be awesome. I mean, I feel like Hawkeye, if they want to bring Kingpin into the MCU, and Daredevil, like the rumors are with this show and Spider-Man No Way Home, this would be the perfect series to do it, I feel. Just because it is very much based around, you know, like the New York non-superpowered stuff, which, you know, that's cool. And crime games, stuff like that, so I think that'd be cool. And then we see later on, now that she's an adult, during the blip, so she did survive the blip, she goes to this building, and inside the building is Ronan, just going on killing a whole bunch of people. And one of those people is her father. He stabs him, and Ronan leaves. Echo runs in. She watches her father die. He reaches his hand out and touches her face, and when he removes his hand, we see a blood handprint on her face. Which, the interesting thing about that is that in the comic books, she does have like a white handprint thing on her face. So that, I think that was supposed to be a reference to that. So now we know why she hates Ronan and wants him dead so badly. They eventually escape, and we get this. First of all, we get an incredible action scene, at least I thought so, with Clint beating up a bunch of tracksuit mafias. And then Kate gets freed later and gets to join in on the fun. Then they leave. They break into a car. Clint refuses to break one of the nicer cars. And then we see a bit of the scene they showed us at Disney Plus Day, which was an awesome scene. It was cool. I thought it was shot in a really interesting way, because the way they shot the first couple minutes of it was like they put the camera like in the back seat, and instead of cutting and using editing, it just had the camera like constantly like turn, where like we saw the back of Kate and Clint, and then it turned around and we saw the tracksuits driving up behind them, and then it turned around to Kate and Clint again while they were talking, and then it turned back to see the tracksuits, and it just kept doing that pretty much, and it didn't cut, at least that we know of. There could have been way hard to spot cuts, but from what it seemed like, there were no cuts, and that was kind of a cool way to edit that, because I haven't seen that before yet, at least not that I can remember. So that was cool, and the action was cool, the jokes were cool, we got to see some awesome trick arrows, and this is also based on a scene from that Fraction comic books again, where they're in a car chase with the tracksuit mafias. I mean, it's under different circumstances, and there's another character there with them that they're trying to save, but you know, pretty similar, because it's in the scene in both comics and the show, Clint is explaining to Kate about the trick arrows. Oh no, if you read the Matt Fraction comic books, you might have been disappointed as I was when they didn't bring in the boomerang arrow, because that was a whole joke in the comic books in this scene, and it wasn't there in the TV show, but that's okay, because, you know, it's fine. Instead, in that scene, we get to see a new type of arrow that Clint has that says Pym on the arrow, and when he shoots that arrow to hit Kate's arrow, it makes Kate's arrow huge, and it comes down and it blows up their van. So apparently he got some tech from Ant-Man or something, because he has some Pym particles, I guess. I mean, that's my best guess. But yeah, that was awesome. And why are you trying to hit me? Get out of here. So I thought that was awesome. And then they jump over the bridge, use a grapple arrow to swing onto the train. They go home. They let Lucky out. They go for dinner. Kate says he needs a cooler suit, and she draws attempted to draw a version of his comic accurate suit from his very first appearance, which was all purple, and he had like the birdwing mask with the H on the mask as well. So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, then we get this, and then Clint's hearing aids get broke in the fight, so we do get some scenes where we get to hear what he hears, which is nothing. So we get to see that Kate helps him out by writing down what his son says when his son calls him, and that was a nice scene. But yeah, that was a cool episode. I loved the show so far. I think it's awesome. And yeah, also in that restaurant, Kate's trying to come up with what to call Lucky, and she knows that he loves pizza. So she goes through a couple names, and then she calls him the Lucky. Well, she doesn't call him Lucky, sorry. Then she calls him Pizza Dog, which in the comics he's called Lucky the Pizza Dog. So that's cool. Why is that horse constantly running into the wall? Why are you running your horse into the wall? You know, I'm taking control of this. Anyway, like I was saying before, wow, I'm doing exactly what he did. Never mind. So overall, I think the show is awesome. I love Hawkeye. I think Kate is a cool, great character. I think Clint is a great character. I love the Matt Fraction Hawkeye comics. So when I heard they were making the show, I was incredibly excited. I think the casting is great. Well, I always thought Jeremy Renner was great as Hawkeye throughout all the MCU. Haley Steinfeld, great choice for Kate Bishop, and the rest of the cast too. The actress who plays Echo, and you know, that amazing dog that they got to play Lucky. I mean, he looks almost exactly like Lucky from the comics. So yeah, I feel like the casting is really great in this show, and the action is cool. Even some of the comedy bits are funny. It's not as funny, I feel, as some of the other MCU projects, but that's okay because it's still pretty funny and it's great, and I just love it so far. And we're already halfway through this season. Oh, also Disney, please make season 2, because I know we're only halfway through season 1, but I love Hawkeye, so we need a season 2. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So yeah, thank you so much for taking time to watch. If you like this video, please hit like. If you want to see more of me reviewing Hawkeye, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I post and go live. I will also review the other Disney Plus shows, like I reviewed every episode of WandaVision. I reviewed a little bit of Falcon and Winter Soldier and a little bit of Loki. Well, not much of Loki, actually. But, you know, I reviewed all of WandaVision and a little bit of the 2 other shows, but not much. But yeah, I'm hoping to review the rest of Hawkeye, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for taking time to watch. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And yeah, bye.